Hello, everyone. Good evening. Please confirm if you can hear me very clearly. Yes, Happy New Week. It's great to see you all once again. This is the third week of our Jenny High class. So please confirm if you can hear me very clearly. All right, great one. Just like I said before, it has been an awesome 2 weeks of learning, and this is our third week. And for the past 2 weeks, we've learned about the different applications of Gen AI. We've been introduced to Hugging Face. We are even able to create a token, right, on Hugging Face, which will help us have access to open source models on Hugging Face's server from within our Colab notebook. For some of us that are very new to Python, we were introduced to how to run our code cells on our Python notebook. And we were also introduced to last week, we're introduced to using different text scenarios, right, that we can perform, right, with some of these models. We're introduced how to do summarization, question answering, translation, and I'm sure we all learned a lot and we enjoyed the class. We're also introduced briefly to what prompt engineering is and how prompt engineering works, right? And apart from that, we also thought, all these models, they don't have memory, right? How do you have memory, right, to your model such that it can remember previous discussions, right? We're also taught that. All right. So Given I've given an overview of everything we've been doing for the past 2 weeks. Then this week we'll be moving on to still learning what prompt engineering is, knowing how to craft effective prompts, right? But before we move on to what we have to do today, which is focused on prompt engineering. Yeah. So before we go to what we have to do today, which is focused on prompt engineering, let me see what is one thing that you really love that you've learned for the past 2 weeks before I now ask my own questions that I want to ask. So what is one thing that you've learned, right, for the past 2 weeks that you are really happy to share with others? So let me get your responses in the chat box. I'm sure we can all hear me very clearly. That's excellent. Learning how to craft effective prompts, prompt engineering. Great one. So let's have more responses, please. What's one important thing that you learned for the past 2 weeks? Oh, Samson is saying, sorry, Lovett is saying this is your first time. Gracious is saying this is your first time also. If this is your first time, please, we've been doing this class for the past 2 weeks. This is our third week. If this is your first time, I would encourage you to watch our previous videos, right? It's on YouTube. So you can watch the previous videos so you can get up to speed with the class. But you do not have to worry, right? You would still be able to go along with today's class. Wow, Ayoshe, if you said you feel like you are lost. Well, if you are lost, still tell me one thing that you've learned. All right, so this was the first assignment that I gave you. I told you to listen to the attention is all you need paper, right? And I can see that someone has done that assignment. Insensitive Q said it can be on yes. At that podcast on Notebook LM, for those just joining, we discussed about Notebook LM, right? And we saw how to listen to articles, PDF, text files, right, in a very interesting podcast way, right? So that is what Insensitive Q is talking about. Application of text which has exactly well done, Odutola, great one. Prompt engineering, learned how to navigate and do a lot of hugging face, great one. When is our class days? Love it. I imagine that this is the first time you are joining. Monday, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, please. 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Yes, it is important. You have to watch. A lot should have been done. John, this is the third week of class. I would imagine that you are just joining Oluwaseun Adekunle, right? So yes, knowledge of Python is important, but you do not have to give up if you do not know Python. As the way we are taking this class, we are explaining everything in depthly, right? Before moving on. Yes, you learned how radio works, navigating login phase, and Google Colab. Yeah, great one. All right. So great to see at least just one thing that each and every one of us have learned for the past 2 weeks. Folashade, I think you should also reach out to every others. I think on the learning management system, you have opportunities to discuss about anything that might be giving you issues, right? So you can create that discussion and also let other peers that have been able to do that also help you with that. Utilizing Hugging Face inference models. Exactly. Great one, Francis. So now that we have all mentioned one thing that we've learned, right, in the past 2 weeks, I have some questions for us to check our understanding, to evaluate our understanding from our previous classes. So when we say what makes a good prompt, let me just ask you like that. What are the characteristics of a prompt that we say, oh, this is a good prompt? Let's start from there. What makes a good prompt? Yes, what makes an excellent prompt? Let me have your responses in the chat. Tell me what makes an excellent, a good prompt. I know you've been introduced to prompt engineering, and we are still going to do more on prompt engineering today. But tell me what makes a good prompt. Emmanuel is saying the content. How does the content makes a good, yeah, context. Thank you, Melibiko. You must give your AI model very good context, right? If you do not give your AI model a very good context, right, it is not going to give you a good response, right? A good prompt is well structured and detailed. Yes, you must really explain to the model the task that you want it to achieve and how you want it to be done for it to do what it is supposed to do the right way. Yes, clarity and specificity. I love that, Noble. You must be specific. Tell it what you want. Clarity and specificity, important. Yes, I love that. A major highlight has been learning about prompt engineering. Great one, yes. So we've seen how to communicate with AI models to get what the better result. Great one. Clarity, Babatunde, yes. The context, task, persona, tone, example, format, yes. Excellent. Obitokun Folashade, you sent message on the group but no response. Obitokun Folashade, if you are not able to get a response, you could also just use these models that we are conversing with. Tell GPT, I have been trying to do this, or Gemini, and I'm still having error, and see what you get. Or you could also learning, right? Generative AI, right? And also knowing how to interact with these models, knowing how to prompt these models, which is what we are doing today. Prompt engineering, right? Knowing how to prompt these models to get the type of answer that you need from them. Avoiding ambiguity, yes. I did not mention yours. Oh, I'm so sorry, Samson Lovett. Yes, the right information makes a good prompt, which is talking about context. Well done. Break down complex tasks. Yes, the tone. All right, I can see that we all are becoming pros in prompt engineering. I will now know how to get better answers, right? Good answers from our models. So my next question now is, when we are crafting our prompt, we can have different roles. We can have the system, we can have the user, and then we can also have the assistant. So the first question, when you are saying a system role, great one, Olufunke, right? When you are saying a system role, what does it mean, right? When you assign a system role, what does this mean, right, in your prompt? No response yet. When you assign a system role, right, in your prompt, that when you are crafting your prompt, you could have system role, user role, or assistant, right? When you have a system role, right, what does this mean? No, that means the model. No, the system role. Odutola, no. Francis, no. Exactly. Great one. No, we are telling it how it should act, the identity that it should adopt. You are telling it how it should act. Great one, Noble. What about if we say, no, Odutola, that does not mean the model is the one to answer. Yes, you are giving it. Yes, can be, you are exactly, Clement. You are telling it to act in a particular way. You could say, you could give it a persona. Even if you do not give it a persona, right, you could also say, okay, act this way, you are this, or answer questions, or say you are giving the system liberty to act. You are telling it how to act and what to do in that specific scenario. Okay, so what if we say a user role? What if you are assigning a user role? Yes, does, I like that. Okay, so I've changed my question now. What if we're assigning a user role? Well done, Mary Bye. She said the user role, the, the user role is you. In answering right the question. What of the assistants? What of the assistants? The assistant role. No, Mary Bayo, that's not the assistant role. No, you are mixing it up. No. Hmm. Odutola, no. The assistant. We all got we tried with the system, the user. The AI model is the assistant. Well, I can take that as a partially yes because the response, right? The response from the AI model is what we get as the assistant, right? So seeing the system role, the user role, and then the assistant, right? Okay, so great one. We've actually learned a lot in the past 2 weeks, and it's great to see that most of us are able to recall and then also answer these questions, which makes me glad. Right. So, moving on. No, assistant is the prompt. No, Antonia, assistant is not the prompt. Prompt is the assistant. No. Mary Bayo, no. No, the prompt response, yes, Segun Bello. The response from the model, rather, not prompt response. Response from the model. Let's be specific. All right. Ah, yes. Still, before moving to what we have to do today, how many of us were able to successfully run our summarization app last week with Gradio? So that means if you were able to successfully run your summarization app last week with Gradio, let me see your responses in the chat. Oh, it gave you token error. If it gave you token error, Clement, two things. Either you did not give access to your organ face token in that specific Colab notebook, or yeah, just I think that's just what will lead you to your token error. Wow, great one, Francis. You used it and you used it to summarize the PDF paper. Attention is all you need. Excellent. I like that. If you are just joining from the first time, this is our third week of class, right? You can still stay in today's class. I hope you get to understand. But it's advisable that, not even advisable, compulsory that you watch the previous videos from the first week and the second week. Yeah, definitely to aspire after some time. Why didn't it summarize? Please check your code. There might be something wrong with it. And please, I want to tell us again. Yes, let me share my screen. We would still be continuing with our prompt engineering notebook. Let me share my screen to show us this. please, I'm sure we can all see my screen now. Please confirm if you can see my screen. How long will the training take? It's going to take 8 weeks, and this is our third week. Yes, great one, Oluwatoyin. Nice one. Oh, you wanted to run it on Hugging Face. Wow, Simonio is already one step ahead of the class, right? Yes, there are ways you can host your radio app, right? There are ways you can host your radio app on Hugging Face, but we've not gotten to that yet, Simono. But if you've gotten to that, great one. I'm clapping for you. Great to see that you have been able to get there. And if you're having errors, right, just that is why you are learning Gen AI. That is why you are learning how to do prompt engineering, right? Just craft your prompts very well, and I'm sure your model, AI, the language model, should be able to help you with that. I think the admin should be able to respond to your question. Samson, love it. If there's a certificate or a prize, please, I would encourage our admin to please help share the prompt engineering notebook link once again, so that those that do not have it can have access to the notebook. Thank you. And I can see that most of us were able to run our summarization app, which is excellent. And someone even said she used it to summarize the attention is all you need paper. I hope we are listening to that paper. So that's one of our first assignments, is to give you more understanding of everything that we are doing in class. So one thing I wanted to tell us is that anytime you receive a notebook like this, please and please, I would not give you access to edit this notebook directly. If you ask me to give you access to edit it, I'm going to decline, because to um save your own edits in this notebook, all you have to do is click on File and what? Save a copy in Drive, just like I said previously. Click on File, then what? Save a copy in Drive. Once you do that, you can edit the notebook anyhow you want it. Can you see? Notebook copy is complete, and then you open it in a new browser, and then you have your own copy of this notebook, right? You have your own copy of this notebook. You can see it's loading. Yeah, copy of prompt engineering notebook. You have your own copy, and you can make any edits that you like to it, anyhow you want to make it, right? You can make any edits to it anyhow you like it, right? So please do not ask me anytime you have. Okay, let me reshare my screen. Sorry about that. Yes, I'm sure my screen is up again. Yes, Samson, love it. I think there's a WhatsApp community, and I also think the learning management system. You try to host it on render, but it failed. It should not fail. If Oh, that is because you are trying to do Gradio app on render. Gradio, the render is like giving a backend, right, to it already. Yeah, so render is already giving a backend to it already. Uh but render only gives a backend, right? Not the front end like the Gradio app. I feel if you are using render, you might have to use, like, it's going to give you like a link, right? That's maybe a link to an endpoint or something that you can use in a front end application. But the difference is that, Abia Anthony, the difference is that your Gradio app, right, already combines this backend and front-end functionality, but Render only gives you the backend functionality. So if you want to make it custom, I think I can still confirm this for you, right? You would need to like maybe build your own front end to it, right, and then input that um link, right, from Render, right, into what you have built. Oh, I can see someone saying the link is not working. So let me click on it to confirm that. Oh my God. All right. I can see what you are saying. Okay. Please give me a minute to tell our admin the link. There is no save a copy in Drive on the notebook shared. No, that shouldn't be. There should always be a save a copy in Drive. In Colab, there would always be a save a copy in Drive. It's working. Yes, it's working. Who said this was not working? Chukwudi Ezekiel is working. Click on the link and click on open with Colab. Adedoyin, why don't you understand the course? Click on the link and then do open with Colab, right? Open with Google Collaboratory. And then it would work. Let me share my screen so you can see that, Ezekiel. So share this tab instead, right? So when you click on that link that the admin sent, this is what you see, and then you get confused. You don't have to be confused. You just have to do open with and then click on Google Collaboratory, right? And then that opens up for you. But moving forward, I will encourage our admin to always share this link directly, this link in the notebook directly, so that we can just have access to the notebook immediately we click on this link. So this link immediately. Thank you. So I'm sure we all have access to the notebook now. You do not have to be worried, right? Please, you do not have to be worried. No, Clement, you don't need to know all the code offhand, right? It will even take a while for you to like know the code in your memory. That is why whenever you are given a task, you can always easily go to your the previous notebook that you've been taught something. Even copy a code from it, and then you can edit it to um whatever you have been taught, or whatever you have been told to do, or the task you've been given. After you've been doing it in a while, then it will now continue to stick in your memory. But this is the first time you are encountering something like this. You don't expect it to just stick in your memory like that immediately, right? Yeah, so you can just copy and then learn, use it in another notebook. Yes. So it's great to see that most of us have the notebook now. So we can move on to doing what we have to do today. Yes, and our admin has reshared the notebook. So please click on the link. I have the understanding that whatever you need is on the learning management system. So Valentine, are you sure you have access to the learning management system, because I'm sure everything we have is there, right? Everything we've done also previously is there. So yes, now to what we have to do today. I'm excited to see that we all are going to continue learning and developing our knowledge in generative AI. So we know, just like we discussed previously, that these first 4 weeks we'll be using it to look at different aspects in text generation. The next 2 weeks we'll be looking at 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we'll be looking at image generation and also speech to text, text to speech. And then our last week, we'll be looking at how to make sure our models are safe. Can these models output unsafe content, or can they bring out harmful content? Yes, we'll be looking at that in the last week. So for somebody asking how many weeks is this class going to take, it is 8 weeks, and this is currently the third week. We are on the third week of our class. So great to see that most of us are on the same page, and today we will continue with prompt engineering, but we won't be doing this in like Gemini or the UI, right, like we did in our last class, or GPT, or whatever AI model we use. We'll be doing this in our Gradio notebook, sorry, in our Colab notebook, right? And before we move on to going through this notebook, please, what is the first thing I told us to do whenever we are given a notebook like this? Where are we to click on? Is it file or edit to make a copy of this notebook? Thank you. All materials are on your LMS. Yes. Thank you. Fine. So for anybody saying that they cannot find save a copy to drive, please, that is not true, because we are all using the same Colab notebook. Maybe you clicked on edit, or you clicked on view, or you clicked on insert or runtime or tools or help. As long as you clicked on this file tab, you are going to see save a copy in drive. Please, first of all, click on file, save a copy in drive, so that you can make your own edit to this notebook. Thank you very much for doing that as we begin this class. Then the first thing you have to do is connect, right? Click on connect, and then also give your notebook access to Hugging Face token, right? So we are currently connecting, and the next thing you know, you have to get your Hugging Face token. So after getting your Hugging Face token, then you get your instantiate, right, your inference client. Okay, we all have access to this notebook, but without looking at this long explanation, which helps us to know, understand what a prompt is, right? So to you, in your own language, what would you call a prompt? Wow, my screen is not displaying. How come? Please confirm if you can see my screen. Oh, yes, I can see that my screen is not moving, really. Please, let me reshare my screen again. I'm so sorry about that. Wow. Let me try and reshare again. Okay. Yes, I can see that my screen is up now, and then we can all see my screen. You're saying I should start all over, come alive. We're actually just starting, right? There's nothing to start all over, right? We are just starting. Yes. So what I explained before, right, is that as we started this notebook, do not edit this one, right, immediately. Do not edit this one that's been given to you. Click on file and then save a copy in Drive to have access, right, to that copy of your notebook, right? And then the first thing you want to do is give this notebook access to your Hugging Face token, because we know that that is what is going to authenticate us to have access to use models, right, on Hugging Face's server, right? So moving on, I'm asking us that, oh, to you, what does a prompt, right? What does it mean? And then we already have some responses here. You can't see my screen, DB Visuals. Are you sure it's not your network? Grace Ajayi, oh no, you're not opening it on Word. You just have to click on the link, right? Just click on the link on your Chrome browser, right? I'm sure you are just joining this class then. Just click on the link on your Chrome browser and then you have access to the notebook. You can do open in Colab to have access to our notebook. Network is not a friend. Oh, I'm so sorry about that, but you have access to the notebook. My screen is black. Wow, but I can see that everybody is saying they can see my screen. Come alive, how do you generate these notebook files for your own personal project? If my screen is not clear, ng connections, then it is your network. Please check your network because others can see my screen. The max is also saying blurry screen. Please confirm if you can see my screen. Let me zoom in. And I have to be scrolling a lot. Yeah, so somebody asked the question of how to generate these notebooks for your personal project, right? Come alive. So you do not actually need to generate the notebook, right? All you just have to do is, I'm sure we can all see this my you can see my screen, right? All you just have to do when you want to create a new notebook is click on file, the same file or the new notebook in Drive, right? You can create a new notebook that way. This is one of the ways you can create a new notebook in Colab, right? File, new notebook in Drive, or just go to your Chrome browser and type Colab, enter, then file, new notebook in Drive. Or let's say you have an existing .ipynb file, right? You have it, an existing one. You can just click on what? Upload the notebook, and you're going to have the notebook here. You'll be able to see it in your Colab notebook. So if you want to have your own personal project, you want to create a new notebook, right? Just click on file and then new notebook in Drive. So I'm sure that answers your question. Demands, please check your network and confirm that it is not your network that is allowing my screen to be blurry on your end. Wow. Okay. Some people are saying my screen is okay. Some people are saying my screen is a bit blur. I can see it now. I can see that a larger percentage of people are saying they can see my screen now, right? All right, so if you cannot still see my screen at this point, please, it is your network. Now to the question I asked before, what does a prompt mean to you? So let me scroll up back. Mhm. it doesn't open on phone through the, please our admin, please help send when they like click on the link. For those using the phone that are having issues, please help us send this specific link to them also. Then they would be able to just click on the link and they would have access to the notebook. When the notebook is open, please just send this specific link to them so that when they click on it, they would have access to the notebook immediately without needing to go through any extra step. That is the link that it shows on their Chrome tab, right, in the search bar. That link would be easier for people with phones, right, to access. So I can see David saying prompt is like a command given. Would I say prompt is a command? Prompt is like a set of instructions based on what you want the AI to do. I wouldn't necessarily call it a command, except when we are categorizing, say, system prompts, everything. So we can say it's partially correct because it can actually be a command, right, if it's a system prompt. What you want the model to do for you? Yes, set of instructions, what you want the model to do. So great one that we have that. Alright, is also saying command. Well, yes, can also be a command, just like I think who said that earlier. Yes, David. Is your network or Emmanuel? All right, so great one that we all understand what a prompt is, more like a set of instructions, right, that you've given to your model based on what you want it to do for you. Okay, so moving on, this part is just helping us to do a refresher, right, on we want a model to be able to answer any question that is given to us. And you can see us specifying our role here, right, a system prompt, and we are telling it that, oh, you can answer any question, right, given to you. And then our user role, right, is now sending the question that we want to receive from, sorry, please, I was not looking at the right notebook. Don't get confused. All right, so moving on, right, we have our first prompt here, which is also still to do a refresher, because if you notice, I like doing refreshers before moving to what we have to do today, to make sure you understand what you have been previously taught, right, before moving on to a new aspect. So here you can see that we are giving our system prompt, in which most of us understand what a system role, right, what it means, right. We all gave a very good response to that. So we are saying, telling our model that in this, right, in this scenario, you have to summarize any article given to you, and then the question or whatever is given from the user, right, we have that role given as the user role, which is mostly the article or the context or whatever the user wants to summarize. And we want our model here. We've chosen the Meta Llama model. Let me ask you one question, right? How did I come about this model name, right? How did I come about this model name? Can anybody tell me how I came about this model name? Most of us are still answering the question. Oh, most of us are still answering the question on prompts. Wow, great one. Great to see that you are following. But now I've changed the question. My question is, you cannot see my screen, right? How did we come about this model name here? What if you want to pick another model? How did we come about this model name here? From hugging face, from hugging face, from hugging face. Great one, we are all following. From hugging face, and we know that that name, right, is the model ID, right, on hugging face, right, which we just copied, and we know that, okay, this is the way we can have access to that specific model that we want to use. Great one. So moving on, we use our chat completion endpoint on the clients that we've previously, the inference clients that we have previously run here, right? We know that the inference client gives us like a way to what have access to the model, more like a connector, right? To have access to the models that are hosted on Hugging Face um server. While we now use the chat completion endpoint, right, to send our requests, right, in a specific format to this model. So this is our model, and we are just giving max tokens here, and then we are giving a system prompt, which is summarize any article given to you, and then we have the role of a user, and then we've already given it the article here. So we have an error here because I did not run this previous cell, which helps us to just modify. You don't have to worry too much about it, right? If you do not use it, you will still have your response, right? It just helps us modify whatever we have, right? Makes it finer, makes our output finer. That's what it does. So because we actually put max tokens here, so you can see that it is cutting whatever we have, the summary we have, it is cutting it short, right? And then we did not tell the moderator, oh, summarize the article given to you in so, 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 and so what, right? So it is cutting short whatever we have. So what if you comment this out and then you run this again? So you see that it will be able to give you a full summary, right? So you can see that it gave us a full summary, right? But if we want it to maybe say in 500 or less words, so always summarize the article given to you maybe in 100 words, then the model is going to give us a shorter summary. So let's do that. Summarize any article given to you in 100 words. So you can see that this is what shorter than what we had before, and then we're able to get a full summary. So this is just a refresher based on what we did, right, in our notebook, working on specific use cases. So now we'll be moving on to prompt engineering proper, right, which is the process of crafting effective prompts, right, for language models in order to steer them towards a specific goal that you, the user, want. And we all have mentioned very nice principles, right, for crafting a good prompt. Someone said give it context, another person said specificity, and that is what you can see. Somebody said clarity of thought, right? So, and you can see that our first principle here is saying you must be what? Specific, right, and clear about the instruction or task, right, you want to perform. Then you must what? Break complex tasks into subtasks. Somebody also mentioned this, that don't just ask, give it, don't just dump a lot of things on the model, like break complex tasks into subtasks so that the model does not what forget, right, what you told it to do. If you just put a long context and dump it on the model, right? So another one I think you did mention is saying tell the model what to do and be more specific. Yes, specificity is what we mentioned before, but tell the monitored model what exactly you want it to do. Then use delimiters within your prompt. When we call delimiters, it can be any sequence of characters or symbol that what makes sections distinct, right, within a prompt, and we can see different examples of a delimiters, right. So now this is an example of a way, right, to craft an effective prompt. So in this task, right, we want the model to read through each of these texts. So let me tell you the problem. We want the model to, I know that you can see it though, but if it were you, how are you going to do this on your own? So we are going to try out how you are going to write this prompt on your own. You have to write it in a different way apart from what we have here, and then we are going to see if we are still going to get the same response, right, with what we have here. So the what we want is that, right, we want the model, right, to look at this different text one and then also text two, right. If there are list of steps there, right, it should show the steps, step one, step two, step three, right. But if there's no step, right, you should just tell us there's no step, right. So my question to you is, if it were you, right, look at this way we wrote this prompt here. This is just an example, right. It is not set in stone that, oh, you have to write the prompt this way, oh, you have to do it this way, oh. No. Now I want somebody to think, and then you can also try it out at your end. I'll give us like 2 minutes to try it out at our end, right, for those of us following with a laptop. If you are not following with a laptop, you are following with your phone, you can just think in your mind too of how you would have written this prompt to solve the problem that we have. So once you have that, I will now, let me create a new cell. You will not be able to, if you create a new cell in this notebook without doing file, then save a copy in drive, it will not save. Oh, do file, save a copy in drive, so that whatever changes we are making to it, right, it can, you can have access to whatever changes, right, it will be saved. So now if you were to change this prompt, right, this prompt that we have here, I want us to change it. I don't want you to follow me, right. So let me show you how the response that this, so let's do text one. If it was text one, let's see what it will bring out before telling you to change the prompt. But be thinking of how you will change the prompt, because I'm going to copy one from the comments section, right. So you can see that that was able to give me a prompt, but because of these max tokens that we have here, right, so can just also comment this out and then see if it is going to give us the full step, right, yes, for text one. And then when we do text two, you can see that no text has been provided in that text, right. So no steps, right, has been provided in that text. So that's why it's telling us no step provided. So my question to you now is that if you want to craft a prompt, right, different from this, right, how would you do that? So let me come and see your responses in the chat. Mary Bayo, the file is not opening. The file should open. Mary Bayo, the file should open. You could also click on this link. Let me try and send this link to you. Right. Our admin can also help paste this link. No idea yet. Come alive. Okay. No idea yet. Okay. So my question is, if you were to rewrite this prompt, right, in your own words, right, how would you write that? So I'm still giving us time to think. My explanation was not too clear, Abia. Okay, so what part of the explanation did you not understand? Oyewumi, that is why I sent a new link to you also. You can just click on that new link and then you should be able to um get access to Colab immediately instead of the file, and then you have to click on use open with Colab. Even though I'm sure you can still do that on your phone, I'm very sure. So let me come again for those that do not understand, right? So we are learning about prompt engineering, and then most of us have already told us what is needed, right? The principles, right, that are needed for crafting effective prompts, right? We know that you must have this, you must be specific, right? Specificity is important. Clarity, right? You must be clear in whatever you are saying. You do not just dump a long, too long prompt of the model, right? You must what? Break down complex tasks, right, into subtasks, right, for the model to understand whatever you are saying, right? And also it's also great when you use delimiters, right, to differentiate sections, right? So this first task that we are doing, right, we are now trying to see how to craft a prompt, right, such that when a piece of text contains some steps, right, it will outline it that okay, from this piece of text, these are the steps that I was able to get, right, from this piece of text. So in the notebook that has been shared with you, you have like a template prompt given, but I'm not saying that this is not set in stone, that oh, this is the perfect way to write it, or this is the only way to write this kind of um the prompt for this kind of scenario, right? I'm not saying. If you were to write that prompt, right, how would you write it in your own words? So write it and share your response on the in the comment section, and let us in the chat box, and let us try your response here to see if we'll be able to get a list of steps from a text. And if there's no list of steps, you should be able to tell us that oh, no step has been provided. No, I'm not really changing the syntax, just rewrite the prompt anyhow you want. Yes, write your own part, write your own prompt. With phone, the file is not opening. Oyewumi, I expect that with the new link, it should be able to open that link. Elijah is saying, please, I'm not seeing your screen. My screen is not moving. Please, Elijah, check your network. I'm definitely sure it's your network. Yes, I'm asking you to write your own prompt. Abia Anthony. So I'm saying you are not changing the text one or the text two, right? I'm saying instead of having you will receive a text enclosing this. In this case, do this step one, step two, step three, whatever. If you were to write it in your own words, right? Everything here, how would you write it? That is my question to you. So how would you write that kind of prompt, right? If you were to write it in your own words. Okay, so I can see that most of us do not understand what I'm trying to say. So I'll just do this task and then give us another one to do. So we have text one, we have text two, right? Text one and text two in the notebook. And then the question is that you have been given text one and text two. You now want to write a prompt, right, such that if a specific text, right, contains some set of steps, right, if it contains some set of steps, you want it to say okay, oh, from this huge text, right, these are the steps outlined very beautifully. So instead of me having to read setting up this, first gather the the necessary equipment such as this and that, I will be able to easily see step one, do this, step two, do this, step three, do this. So it is this prompt part, right, of this notebook, right, that was asking you to change, right? Like if you were to craft a prompt like that from your own memory, right, you have a piece of text, right, some of them might contain steps of how to do something or how to achieve something, and some text might not contain any steps, right, on how to do anything or how to achieve anything. So you are now tasked, right, to construct a prompt, right, write a prompt such that whenever we are what passing in a text, right, it should be able to say, okay, oh, this text has explicit instructions, and this is step one, this is step two, this is step three. And then let's say I pass in another text now without any instruction, you should be able to say, oh, no steps were provided in this text. So that is the task goal. Tope Okediran, what do you mean by no steps provided? Do you mean that you tried your own prompt out and then, or you are getting no steps provided? You cannot see the prompt. Please zoom in your screen. The font is still small. Please, I've zoomed in my screen. No, I cannot zoom in I do not want to zoom in my screen more than this, right? I've zoomed in my screen. I do not want to zoom it more than this because you won't be seeing the notebook as you are ought to see it, right? So if you are saying no steps provided, I think somebody is saying no steps provided. That's because if you read the text two, right? Text two is saying this. If you read it, you'll see that no steps have been provided. That is why when you are passing that text two, right, to your prompt, right, you are getting no steps provided. But if you change it to the first prompt, that is, if you check this part, prompt.format, that is where we are passing in our text, right? This particular line that you can see here. Prompt.format, this we are passing in our what? Our text. So if we change it to text one and run it, you see that when the text has some instructions or steps rather, it was able to show us that, oh, these are the steps, right, that this text contained. But then when you change it to text two, all right, you change it to text two, I'm sure you can see the specific place I'm changing full prompt equals to prompt dot format, right, text equal to, then either change it to text one or text two, and then you run it to see the response that it gives to you. So Akiyemi, I'm sure you can see my screen now. Exactly, Elijah. This is not the only approach. That is why I'm telling you to be creative and then construct the prompt in your own words, anyhow you like it. Change whatever you have in that notebook, write it anyhow you want. The problem to be solved is just that when a prompt, right, we have a problem that we want to solve and we have a prompt already in our notebook. I think next time I should not have put the prompts in the notebook. I should wait until we get to class so we can be creative and think of the prompts to put them ourselves. So what I'm saying now is that we've given you an example prompt, right, in that notebook. The problem is that we have different text, right? But once we've passed in a text, if there are some set of steps, if there are some set of steps, right, in that text, then we want the model to be able to extract that, okay, from this text, oh, it was able to see so and so steps. If there are no set of steps in the text, We want the model to say no steps has been provided. So if it were you, how are you going to create that kind of prompt on your end, right? That is the task. So I can see Clement saying you're a network engineer. From the following text, provide the steps that must be taken to successfully set up a home network. Okay. No, I won't put it to John Saint. Oh, yes, of course. There is be a limit. Why are you asking if you need to create a new token, Emmanuel? Are you having issues with the token that you've created before? Yes, Winifred, that is because when you read the text, you see that there are no text provided. All right. Great to see that most of us are able to do that. But I can see Clement's text is prompt, right, is well formatted. So I'll be trying out Clement's prompt and let's see what will happen when we change Clement's to Clement's prompt, right? We change our notebook to what Clement has put in. So now I created a new cell. I'm sure we all know how to create a new cell, right, in our Colab notebook, right? To create the new cell, you can just overwrite and click on code, or you can come up to this upper part of your screen, right, or also click on code, and I copied and pasted the content, right, of what we have there before. So Clement gave us a prompt. So I'm going to copy this and then replace it with what Clement gave us. So I won't still be removing this text though that you can see here in coily braces, right? I won't be removing that actually, because that is the way we are passing those different texts, right, to our um model, right? So now let's run the previous one. So this is the first prompt that we have. The first prompt says you will receive a text enclosed in triple backticks. In case the text includes a series of instructions, right, you should rewrite those instructions using the following format, right? We have step one, step two, and we gave it a format. If the text does not include a sequence of instruction, you should write no steps provided, and we are saying this is the text here, right? So now to now put it in an f string, put it in a string f string format, and that's why we are able to use dot format, right, to be able to pass that text to it in Python. So if you are not so used to Python, right, I've told you, every time I'm always telling you things that you have to learn, right, to get up to speed. The last time I told you to learn about variables, the previous time I told you to learn about data types, and I'm sure that most of us have been able to learn that, right? So what you want to learn right now is about string manipulation, right, in Python, and also how to format um string, right, in Python. All right. So moving on, this is the way we are passing our text one or text two. That's the way we are passing it to our model. So right now, if we change this text and say we want to see If text 1 contains some list of steps and we change the text here to be text 1 and then we run it, we can see the steps that are contained there. Step 1 is this, step 2 is this, step 3 is that, and step this is that. So what if we change it to step 2? So this is still our prompt template that has been given in the notebook. I've not gone to Clement's prompt too. There are no steps provided. So now let me now come to Clement's prompt now. Let's say I change it to text 1 with Clement prompt. So text 1, I'm passing in text 1 now, passing in text 1. So Clement's prompt is saying you are a networking engineer. From the following text, provide the steps that must be taken to successfully set up a home network. So now let us run this for text 1. So we can see our results. So let me comment out this max tokens is 100 so that we can see our full results. Yes, so you can see that it is still giving us what? Those 7 steps, like we can see. Oh, already. So let me run this previous one again so we can compare and construct to see how prompts, right, is giving us different responses from the model. So which is to tell you how important, right, it is for you to craft your prompt, right, to get good responses from your model. So now you can see step 1, gather necessary equipment, blah blah blah. Step 2, do this. But from Clement's prompt, you can see how our response is different, and now it is giving us more like subtopics and explaining the next thing to do. So now what now happens if we change it to text 2? One thing I want you to note is that text 2 doesn't have anything about networking engineer, right? It doesn't. So when we run it, let's see what it's going to give us as our output. So the model is able to say, oh, unfortunately, the provided text doesn't contain any information about. Then it still goes on to tell us about what an home network will be. So for this our specific problem here, the problem that I said that we had was giving any text, right? Giving any text passed to this model, we just want it to check if it contains a list of steps, extract those steps. If it doesn't contain a list of steps, tell us that what? It doesn't contain any list of steps. So Clement gave us a very good prompt, right, that we can start with. But the limitation of this prompt, right, that Clement gave us, right, is that what? It is focused, it is specific to what? Text 1, which is talking about network engineering. Oh, the prompt was actually for text 1. All right, great one. So the question was to create a prompt, right, that can work for any text, right, given any text. Okay, I can see that some people are also giving their own examples of prompts that they can use, which is a great one. I would implore you to check this on your end and then see how different the result is from the one that has been given in your notebook. Then you see the main impact of what? How different prompts, yes, can give you different responses, right, to your model. All right, great one. Dorcas, I can see your response. So Francis is saying add two backticks to the text two as well. You can also try it out at your end, right, Francis, and then see what is going to happen. Oh, Abi Anthony is just saying you should give it steps to set up a home network. That is not a good prompt, Anthony, for the problem statements that I have given. The problem statement I gave is right. It is just a fictitious problem statement, right? Saying that we have different text, different piece of text, right, that will be passed to the model, right? The different piece of text can be about anything, right? So I'm not saying you should craft a prompt that is specifically for maybe text one or text two, right? So the problem statement was we have different piece of text, right? And they want to craft a prompt such that if a text contains a list of steps, right, the model is able to extract that, okay, these are the steps that are contained in this text. But if there are no steps provided, the model is just supposed to say, oh, no steps has been provided here, right? So that is the problem statement given, and then what we've been told to um craft a prompt on. Noble is saying, can we see the text in full, please? Yes, Noble, it's in your notebook. I'm sure you have access to the notebook, right? So all you just have to do is just scroll to the right, and then you'll be able to see whatever text you have there in full. Also, you just have to scroll to the right, and then you will see that text in full. But great one, Clement. That was a good prompt that you started with. You cannot see the token that you've created before. Emmanuel, great one. That will just give you another opportunity to create another token. So just go to Hugging Face the way we did before, and then create your new token. Praise, you're a bit lost. Why are you lost? Odutola, do not change it to print result dot choice. Oh, what this is what Odutola is saying he or she did, right? If you change it to just print, to just okay, yes, you can do print. I thought that you are saying that you removed zero dot message dot content from it, and I wanted to say please do not remove it, oh, because all these things we are doing, right, is a way to get the exact content, right, from the model response. Because if you remove all these things, right, you will see the full response that the model sent, right? You can try it out on your end. Remove choices, zero message content. If you remove it, you're going to see the full content, right, of whatever the model responds with. But we only need the content, right? It's only the content that is important to us, right? That is why you can see that we are doing that. Print also works. Yes, that works. Odutola. Great one. Omotosho, my screen is currently zoomed out. Please check your network if you cannot see my screen. Oh, nice one, Miguel. You changed the keyword from event to events from instruction, and you got a positive response for text two. So you said you changed the keyword from instructions. So I would imagine that's the first prompt. So if the text does not include a sequence of instructions, so you change it from instructions to events. Yeah, so that would mean, of course, the prompt changed and the response is definitely going to change. So you want to maybe recraft the prompt and make sure it follows the problem statement that I've given. Yours is giving, I can't get the error you're trying to say, Oluwatoyin. Okay, yes, great one. Well done, Clement. Oh, yes, exactly. Based on the provided text, if available, outline the steps required to achieve the yes. It can work, Clement. Great one. Um, Elijah, I'm not seeing as a total beginner, you are really lagging behind. About Christian, why are you lagging behind? Elijah, why are you saying can this work? Oh, I can say that we are all actually trying to change the prompt at our end and then we are sending it when we are done. Great one. All right, great one. I like that prompt, Winifred. How do you link your Hugging Face model to Colab? The universal explainer. So that is telling me that this is the first time that you are actually in this class, right? So you know the first thing you have to do is instantiate your inference clients, right? First create a token, right, on Hugging Face. After creating a token on Hugging Face that would authenticate you, right? That would authenticate you, right, to have access to the models of OnlyFans. Instantiate a client, then add your token as a secret. Please watch previous um classes, yes, videos, yes, you get how to do that, the universal explainer. You can also ask any of your colleague to help you with that. Chukwudi Ezekiel is saying, if we remove the last instruction of writing no I don't get what you mean, Ezekiel. If we remove the last instruction of writing, no steps provided, AI response will change. If we remove if this is your first class, I won't expect you to actually be commenting, right? Because I would expect you to calm down and also learn, watch previous videos, right? If this is your first class, if I'm going to I'm going to somewhere as a if as a first time and I know that they're already in the third week, the first thing I want to do is get myself up to speed, right, before joining the class, right? So I will also implore you to do that, Anthony. Chrono, where are you lost? Let me know where you are lost. Exactly. So that's all about prompt engineering. You should not just remove the last instruction. You should see a way to say, okay, how can I craft this prompt, right? That it will be able to give me the response that I want, to give me the problem statements, right? To solve the problem that has been given to me. So, all right, great to see that some of us were able to try that out. If you've not been able to try that out, it's very simple, right? The problem statement, once again, is if you are given any text, in fact, you do not have to even limit yourself to only this text one and text two that I've given here. You can create text three, text four, text five to check out if your prompt is working well, right? Do your text three, put some instructions there in the text. Do your text four, don't put any instruction there. See if your prompt will be able to what, catch the different dynamics and then give you the exact response that you want. The goal here is to make sure that we are able to craft a prompt, right, that is going to give you what exactly you need. All right. So moving on, we've discussed about introduction, right? So prompt engineering for those that are saying that they are lost. And we know that it's all about making sure you what, construct your prompt, right, the right way to get the right response, right, from the model. And just like we've said before, we said, oh, for you to what, create a good prompt, right, a very good prompt, you have to what, be specific about what you want. You have to give clarity. You should not put ambiguous, right, messages, right, in your prompt. You should simplify complex tasks, right? Don't just dump it on the model. Simplify complex tasks, right? And then we'll now be moving on to prompting techniques, right? Prompt engineering techniques. So we are only going to cover some. Some of us have said it already. Somebody said role playing, right? You can create a prompt by doing role playing. You can create a prompt by doing few short prompting. There's something called few short prompting. There's something called zero shot prompting. And there's something called chain of thought prompting. Before we move on to these different models, so a prompt is not just saying, oh, do this, do that, right? There are specific ways you can craft prompts. So before moving on to these different things that I've spoken about, zero shot prompting, few shot prompting, chain of thought prompting and all, right? Before moving on to that part, right, let me answer some few questions that we have in this um chat box. I crafted the else part of the instruction to cater for text 2 accordingly. If text does not include, you should write a detailed so Francis is giving another way, right, to solve her own problem. She's saying, oh, if the text does not include this, then she wants, so that is what you want, not my own problem statement o. That is what you want to do with your own app, right? If it does not include some instruction, you want a summary, right? And I'm sure if you were able to, yes, from what I can see, you've crafted the prompt well. I'm sure that you should be able to get the kind of result, right, that you want. Your prompt is giving you error. Oluwatoyin, please, what type of error is your prompt giving you? Oluwatoyin, please make sure that you gave your Colab notebook access, right? Make sure you gave your Colab notebook access to your Hugging Face token. If not, you're going to get error that you are not authenticated or something. Make sure you run the inference client code above two. Make sure you before running the inference client code above, make sure you use the user data.get in Colab to what, have access to your token, right? I'm sure if you do all that, Oluwatoyin, you should not have an error. You've been attending the class from day one, but you do not really understand it. It's not about watching, but how do I get this code in terms, writing it and all. Chrono, please follow the class, and then also, like everything I've been telling you to run, to learn in Python, like specific things, you can just always do that one step at a time. I've told you to learn about variables, told you to go and learn about data types. Just do that one step at a time, please. Rome was not built in a day, so you are going to catch up definitely. You do not have to worry. Just try to follow along with the class, and then you will get it. Yeah, so tell it what it has to do as the first most important thing. Then later, right, prompt engineering is an iterative process. Let me explain this to you. Prompt engineering is an iterative process. It's not just something you do at once and then raise your hand that, okay, it is good, right? When you write a prompt, right, you have to improve on it, right? You always have to write prompt for problem scenarios, right? Maybe when you are creating your AI applications and all. When you write a prompt, you are writing the prompt so that the model can maybe solve a specific problem for you. That's why I'm giving you a specific problem that I want you to write a prompt for, right? And whenever you write that prompt, right, the model might keep on passing the different test cases, might keep on passing the different test cases, but in a while, the model can fail on a specific test case. Then you know that, okay, you need to what, improve on that prompt. right? So prompt engineering is actually an iterative process. You might not write the best prompt at once, right? But after a few number of times, you use the test scenario to see, is this prompt doing well? Okay, no, this prompt is not doing well. I need to change this and this. I need to update this and this in my prompt. Then you check it again. Yes, this prompt is doing well. So in that way, you have to what? Iteratively, right, improve your prompts, right? Instruct it on what it is exactly to be done, yes, and tell it, and do not tell it what to do. Well, no, you have to tell it, also tell it not what to do, but it should not be like the center of things. First tell it what to do, right, in the first place, and then at the end, right, you can say, okay, that is not what to do. Is you can say it when you notice that, oh, the behavior of the prompt, right, it is doing what is not supposed to be doing, right? In that kind of scenario, right, when you are getting those kind of responses, then you can say, okay, do not do this or do not do that. But at the first instance, of course, you do not only want to just tell your prompt, this is what you should do at the first instance. But after testing a number of times, if you now notice some funny behaviors, right, from the model, then you can say, oh, do not do this. And that's after testing. Great one, Mary Bayo, to see that your link has been opened. Sunday Faith, why are you lost? To catch up, please, Olalekan Adesina, kindly watch the previous videos. That means you've missed 6 classes, right? This is the 7th class and this is the 3rd week. So please watch the 6 classes that you've missed to catch up. Jokero to me, that will mean that you are just joining the class. Please discuss with your peers to get answer to that question, and also watch previous classes. I'm sure you get a very nice answer to your question. Oluwatoyin, you are having an error. Client is not defined. Let me show you that error. So that is because you didn't run this cell, right? That is because you did not run this cell above. This cell here, right? If you do not run a specific cell, right, you know, the next cells are dependent on the previous cells, right? So if you did not run this cell above, and then you want to now use clients in a cell below, it is going to throw up error and tell you that it is not defined. Oh, that should be your network, Emmanuel. Please try again. Somebody is saying, what is the essence of all these things we are learning? Is it to create an app? Part of it, yes. If you want to create maybe an AI application such that you can say, once you upload your, last week we were able to do what? Summarize. Last week we were able to summarize a piece of article, right? You could create your own app and say, oh, you've created an article summarizer or anything summarizer. That is one. This week we are teaching you prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is not only useful in your app. Let's say you have a problem scenario now, and then you take an article, or I don't know, a piece of text, you upload it on GPT, or you upload it on Gemini, or you upload it on Claude. You know, you can upload all these documents, right? And then you want it to give you important things from that document in a specific way, right? How would you craft that kind of prompt, right? That is what we are teaching you here. So this prompt engineering is not only used, let's say maybe you want to create an app that would extract things, right, from maybe a document, extract text in a specific way from a document. No, you can even also still use this in all these models, UI, Gemini, GPT, all of them, DeepSeek. You can use it in the model's UI. Now let's say we want to let's say we want to let's say this teacher's marks book. Now, as a teacher you can write the student's name and then the scores, right? You can write it in your marks book. You can easily take a picture of this, upload it to Gemini or GPT, and then craft that prompt in a very simple way, and then say, given this and that, right? Extract, right, the name, the score, also do some additions in this way, and then you give it to us some examples, right? So it's not just only maybe you want to use it in an app that you want to create, but this helps you in your daily life to think about how to do things, how to make that model give you the kind of response that you need, how to make that model not just give you a generic answer, right? How to make the model give you the exact type of goal, right, that you need. That is what this prompt engineering is all about. Okay, so moving on, since I can see that we do not have any question at all. Universal explainer. For someone with no coding experience, this is too much. Yes, I agree. It's too much, right? So that is why you have to take things one step at a time. For for you with no coding experience, you want to rewatch the um rewatch the YouTube videos, rewatch them again and again. For places you do not understand, for places that you do not understand, as I was trying to explain, universal explainer, you are even universal explainer, right? For places that you do not understand, right, just write them in a note. Oh, I do not understand this part. That's how to learn. I don't understand this part. I don't understand this part. I still find this part confusing, right? Then you can just go to your models. That's why you are even learning. That's why you are learning prompting, right? Tell it, oh, I'm having difficulty understanding this aspect and this aspect, right? In my notebook, right? And it will help you what? Understand it. It will what? Explain it to you in a way you don't understand. And you can always ask questions, even 1 million times, right? Any way you want to ask it, right? You don't even have to be shy, right? With these models, they can help you, right, understand the materials better. And you can also Google. You also have your LMS that you can also discuss with your peers. So you do not have to be you want to be able to make you want to make it you want to make an AI that can generate videos. Don't worry, you are going to still do that. I'm sure you have access to the curriculum, and then you can see that for week 5, 6, 7, right, you'll be concentrating on image, speech, if time permits, the video generation part, right? But for the video generation part, I think that is quite easy, right? For the prompt engineering part, right, you can just prompt your models based on the kind of videos, right, that you want, right, to create. So it's all about prompting. It's still all about prompting. Universal explainer. Olayinka Otun, do I copy your token to the cell? Olayinka Otun, I would imagine that this is your first time in the class, because thank you. Winifred is already responding to the text. Please, Winifred, help me respond to her um completely. Right. Thank you for that. So moving on, as I was trying to say, right, we can have different techniques, right, to prompt, right? You can have the role playing, you can have few short prompting, and then you can have um chain of thoughts prompting. So this is where we currently are. Role playing. Somebody said, I think somebody mentioned persona, right? When we were talking about the different what makes a good prompt. Somebody said persona and all, right? So you can define a persona for a model or give it a role, right? Still talking about the same thing. Say here you can see that we are trying to um create, right, a persona, right, which says, oh, you are a personal accountant that helps with managing a budget and spendings, right? And then the prompt, right, is that you are giving it the debit and credit table, and then you're asking it the question, which of your expenses is this and that? Because you have already told it that you are my personal accountant in this scenario, right? You are giving it its persona of a personal accountant that helps with managing your budget and spendings, right? When you run this, right, you can see based on this data, this smallest amount spent is the what? Is that amount, right? So you've given it a role. You've given it a role. So what other types of role do you think, right? I'm sure most of us we have a job, right, that we are doing here. All right, so moving on, our new question is based on so that's if you are working and all, based on the sector that you are working in, right? Based on the sector that you are working in, if you need a language model, right, to answer questions for you based on the sector you are working in, what kind of role would you be giving? Now, for somebody that is an accountant, person can say, oh, this AI that I'm creating will be my budget personal accountant to help me look at my budget and all. Then you can just always send things related to budget for that language models to give you response on. So now taking it down to what you are already doing, right? Taking it down to what you are already doing, um, taking it down to what you're already doing normally, right? In your place of work, or if you are not working yet, whatever interests you, right? Even if you're a student, right? In what way, right, would you want to, in what role, that's the question, what role would you want to give a model, right? In what scenario, yeah, in what scenario would you want to give a model a role, and what would you want it to do for you? So we've seen a role for the um Winifred is saying French teacher. You are a French teacher. I like that. You are a French teacher. So answer my question in French. Or you are a French teacher. Teach me French. I really like to try that, and we are going to try that. You are a French teacher. Teach me French lessons or something like that. And then I have to ask a question. Oh, maybe what is a girl? What does it mean in French, and what does it mean in that? Another word for prompting, role, medical physics. Yes, great one, Minifred. Someone is saying you want to tell the model to become a data analyst. Okay. So you are saying that, oh, you want to, I'm sure you, please, you should all try all these roles out in your notebook. Oh, make sure you try it out in your notebook. Change the role part. Say you are a veterinary doctor. Tope Okediran, thank you for that. I say you are, tell the model you are a veterinary doctor. Answer questions that I don't know, the patient owners, right? Because the the patients are not humans in this scenario, right? The patient owners might have, and then see the kind of response that the model will give you. And since you already have domain knowledge, right, as a veterinary doctor, you will be able to know if, oh, the response that this model is giving, if it is right or wrong, right? Somebody is saying data analyst, right, can say, oh, you're telling me that you are a data analyst, or yeah, analyze this data. Then you will know that you have to give the model maybe like a CSV file, and then see if this is going to even give you something good, right? Trading advisor, I can see SEO copywriter role, great one. As a medical physicist, telecommunication, who is this? You are a sporty bet expert? No. All right, so this is to tell us that in every aspect, right, that you are working in every aspect, right, of your life, right, you can introduce Gen AI there. Now, imagine that person that says is a veterinary doctor. Imagine the person always has lots and lots of questions, and this is still going to take us to what we have to do. So whatever we are doing in class, right, I do not just want you to limit it to, oh, this is what we have been taught. Think of it, what I'm doing currently now, this thing, how can I change it into what I'm doing currently? How can it be useful to what I'm doing currently? Oh, I'm a veterinary doctor, right? Sometimes, right, you do not have to always answer questions. As I don't know how it works, right, you might have like lots and lots of questions to always answer before somebody visits the hospital, right? You can have an AI application, and then you prompt it on the back end to say, oh, you are a veterinary doctor, do this and do that. Just that I'm very sure that prompting might not be enough. That is one thing that we are still going to see as we move on in this class. We are going to see that prompting alone, right, might not be enough to get the kind of responses that we want from our model, because sometimes, just like we saw in our last class, we saw that some of these models, they hallucinate, right? Things that is not real, right? They can just go and tell, and this is health-wise that we are talking about, right? Something that is not real, they can go and tell you that it is real, and then the life of the patient, which is the pet, might be in trouble. So all these roles that we are giving, I want you to also try it out on your end, and then see if it is giving you the response that you are supposed to have, right? If it is not now giving the kind of response, you know that's what you have to what, rephrase the prompt. That's why I'm telling you that prompt engineering is actually an iterative process. It's not something you get most times at a sitting, right? So you can try out this on your own, try these different roles, right, on your own. But the first role I want to try out, right, is the one for French teacher. So I want to try out the one for French teacher. So I'm going to create a new code cell, and you know that to create a new code cell, right, you just have to click on code above, or click on code right below, then you paste it. Then I will change this role definition to say you are a French teacher. You are a French teacher, very knowledgeable So as I'm writing my own prompt here for French teacher, if you are a veterinary doctor, you can be writing your own. If you are an SEO content marketer, be writing your own at your end and see what it's going to give you. So whatever we are doing here, always relate it to your personal life and say, okay, in what I'm doing your personally, how can this thing that I have learned, right? How can it help me in my career? What kind of problems? Because that is what your final project is going to be about. So it's better you start thinking about it now, right? Everything we are doing, right? In my own personal career, how can this thing be applicable, right, to what I'm doing, right? How can it help me? What problem are we facing now that I see this as a potential solution, right, to help me? So this, I'm trying the role playing part for the French teacher role of French. So I'm going to change the prompt and say, let's say my prompt is, I do not understand French at all. So let me run this. And it's saying, don't worry, I'm here to help you learn French. Let's start with the basics. Okay? There are few phrases for it that bonjour. I say bon. It's even giving me bonjour, trying to tell me the pronunciation. All right. So this is interesting, but even in this kind of from this simple um tasks, right? You can even build an application to learn French, right? From this, right? You can say, oh, you can, but the prompt will be much standard, right? Than this. You can build an application to say, oh, I have an application that can teach you French, right? But you know that you would want to use your previous knowledge of adding memory, right, to this, such that not that the user will say, oh, what was my previous question? Remember when I asked this, and the model will not even remember. So all these pieces put together, like, give you a very, very good understanding and give you something new, right, that you can try in whatever career path, even if you're a student, right? Whatever career path, whatever you find yourself doing currently, right? How can this be helpful? That is what I want you to be thinking about as we are going through these classes, right? So we've seen the role playing, and we can see different roles, right, that we can set. We can give the model any role, any persona, right? And then it would what? Align and try to um answer the questions based on the great one. Is the max is saying you already have you already have personal project that I need this for. Yes, you have to fact check. Very, very important. You have to fact check because the model can hallucinate, right? The model can hallucinate. That's one thing that we know. The model can hallucinate. Mega is saying you don't have problems in Jesus. That's so funny, right? Because let's say you have a tax, or you've been given a tax. Well, if you prefer, it's called a tax, right? Or it can be a problem, right, that you want to solve, right? That Gen AI can help you, right? Not necessarily a problem in your life, right? Maybe a career, but you understand what I'm trying to say. So yes. So we have just 4 minutes, right, to the end of this class. So when we come tomorrow, right, you can just also go through the notebook before we come tomorrow. You'll be seeing what zero shot prompting is. When we say zero shot prompting, how is it different from role playing, right? Can we combine some of these techniques together? So we'll be seeing what zero shot prompting is, what few shots prompting is, so we can also read about this before we come to tomorrow's class to aid our understanding. We're seeing what zero shot prompting is, few shot prompting, and also what chain of thought prompting. What are these different types of prompting, right? We'll be seeing them when we come for tomorrow's class. So two things I want you to all to try out today. Try the first problem scenario that I gave you, right? You want to given a text, right? You want to create a prompt. Some of us have already tried it out in the class, some of us have not, right? Given a piece of text, you want to create a prompt that if we have steps, right, listed in that text, right? You want to extract those texts, right, from the prompt. And if there's no text, you want it to say no text provided, right? And then we also saw the different roles, right? Role playing, which we saw that you can what adapt this to what you are doing personally, right? What you are doing personally, maybe something you've been doing manually, right? Something that you've been doing manually in your current career or as a student. How can you adapt this, right, to it? In the case of hallucination, how can you correct that? Yes, I like that question, Clement. And that is why we will also be learning about retrieval augmented generation, which will help us, well, not totally alleviate, but at least reduce hallucinations, right, in models. So we are still going to be learning about that as we move on in this class. So we can read on about RAG, retrieval augmented generation, right? So you do not have to, if you are not understanding, right, if you are new to all this, right, if you are actually new to all this, I expect that it will be strange to you. So you are very right, right? But all you just have to do, what I will advise you, right, to do is to be calm, try to have an open mind, right, to learning. Try to have an open mind to learning, and then rewatch videos, right? Rewatch videos, rewatch rather videos, and then try to, whenever you've been taught something in class, think of a new thing that you want to do with what you've been taught on your own. So I leave you with this, and then see you tomorrow as our time is up. Thank you.